All right. Hello and welcome to At Home and Health. Each week we aim to uplift and support wellness professionals working from home during quarantine by providing interactive conversations with experts on today's timely topics. I'm Amanda LaPlante. I'm the host of Get Real to Heal on KWRH 92.9 FM, and I'm a certified integrative health coach. And I'm so glad that you're here. We're all glad that you're here. And as a reminder, a little conversation etiquette for the next half hour. We want this to be an interactive experience, and we love your questions and comments. So please pop those into the chat box, and we'll respond as quickly as possible. You can also opt to raise your hand if you'd like to come on screen with us. Just be aware that you'll be being recorded. So today's topic is mindfulness, and we're so excited to have Sandra Miller joining us. Before we jump into the conversation, I want to give a quick shout out and a thank you to our team behind the scenes helping to pull this series together. Jessica Torrey from Acadia Healthcare, and we've got Gateway Wellness Associates, Casey Limmer, and Kate Burris. Ladies, I'd love to know what you're hoping to get from today's conversation. Jessica?
Yeah, so I'm really excited to, use this time to be able to practice mindfulness. It's something that does not come very easily to me. So being able to learn some new skills and start to implement them during this time and kind of slow down.
I think that's tremendous. I know it's something that really helps me in my own journey. And Kate, I'm sure you have some things to say about this, but I'm having trouble unmuting you.
I got it.
There you are. Hi, Kate.
Yeah. So, hi guys. I'm really excited to hear some ideas about mindfulness techniques from the cognitive therapist side. So I have a pretty good understanding of it from a different approach from the kind of yoga world and movement world. And I love bringing all of that together. And so I'm really excited to see what Sandra has to say from our perspective of some really beautiful ideas. So I'm thrilled.
Awesome. And Sandra Miller, MSW LCSW, has led some 150 participants through mindfulness-based cognitive therapy since 2016. Participants describe her as thought-provoking, gentle but direct, and compassionate. In addition to MBCT, she has extensive training and experience in CBT, DBT, ACT, and trauma-sensitive mindfulness. While she has dabbled with different types of meditation since 1981, she consistently comes back to insight meditation. Sandra, welcome.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm well. Very excited to hear what you have to say today and learn from your wisdom. I know meditation and mindfulness has been something that's helped me tremendously in my journey to recover from autoimmune diseases, depression, anxiety, and so on. It's a space that I live in as much as I can every day. How did you get into this?
When 1981, I went to Thailand for 6 months. Couldn't get a job or didn't want to get a job. I'm not sure which. And I studied Buddhism in Thailand and studied meditation. So I've been meditating since 81.
And meditation, when you say, a lot of times people do attach this with a religious affiliation, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. MBCT is not religious based at all. Some of the practices come out of Buddhism and other religions, but the practices, the meditations we do have no religious content to them.
Okay. And so you said that, or in your bio, you say that you've been practicing meditation for a long time. You come back to insight meditation a lot, but is there really a right way to meditate? Or is it just kind of what works for you?
Oh, absolutely not. There is no right way to meditate. And if you get a teacher who starts teaching you technique and you do it this way and not this way, and it's right and wrong, run. It's not the intent of meditation to do technique. There's no goals in meditation except to bring your attention back to the moment. And so when your mind wanders, you bring it back, and you can use any object. You can use your breath, you can use body parts like you probably do in in yoga. You can use a candle. You can use a picture 3 or 4 feet out on the wall. You can walk. You can do it lying down. There's just, and sometimes you're focusing on concentration. Sometimes you're focusing on, you can be mindful of your thoughts and do meditation on your thoughts. You're not attaching to them, but you can do meditation with them. Does that ring true to all of you?
So the idea, yeah, it's a great question. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of heads nodding. Yeah, I love that. I started out my meditation journey with transcendental meditation with TM and the instruction, and I kept going in and saying, "Am I doing this right? I don't feel like I'm doing this right." And then my journey evolved to trying different types of meditation and mindfulness, and the more that I've practiced, the more that I really personally have come to realize that there is no one right way for everyone, especially as a health coach trying to introduce people to practitioners like yourself to get different perspectives and help people to broaden their perspectives on how to be more present. So insight meditation is something that you keep coming back to. Tell us.
Well, while you're getting your microphone ready to go, I'm gonna just talk about, in fact, in the MBCT course that we do, one of the things that we do is after the second session, when you've had a chance to sample a couple times of kinds of meditation, I actually do an individual consult with everyone, and we talk about what works best for you. And so it might be some form of insight meditation. It might be some spiritually based meditation, because we've had people who that's what they want to do. It might be body scans, but we work on, in class we do one meditation because we've got a class and we can't do different kinds of meditation. But we do silent meditation, breath meditation. So we work on, and some people don't have time to do 20 minutes of meditation a day or even 10 minutes of concentrated meditation. So one of the things we talk about in that individual consult is how it fits into your day so that you're not saying, oh, I didn't have time. And the research says is that 3 3-minute meditations have the same benefit or 3 10-minute meditations have the same benefit as 10 minutes or 30 minutes. And so you don't have to do it all in one chunk. And so that makes it a lot more accessible for people. It also takes away some of our excuses.
Absolutely. So was there a particular exercise or something that you wanted to walk us through today to help us to really experience this practice?
Absolutely. One of the things that we do in class is we do a different meditation each week. And our goal is that we don't talk a lot about meditation. Our goal is for you to experience it. And in the process of experiencing it, you feel the resistance that comes up. You feel the judgments that come up. Am I doing it right? This is not working? Is this, all those judgments that come up. And so when you experience those things afterwards, we sit and talk about it for a few minutes. And in talking about it, everybody kind of gets, well, what do you do when judgments come up? What do you do when this comes up? And then we relate it to, what do you do in life when self-judgment comes up, when resistance comes up? I need to brush my teeth, but I don't feel like it. I need to exercise, but I don't feel like it. And so we use those practices that we use meditation almost as a metaphor for life. And all the things that come up in life come up in meditation. And so that's kind of the context in which I'm going to walk you through this. Now, I'm going to assume, normally in this particular meditation, I would ask you to think of a time when you felt afraid. But that usually takes people a couple minutes, and we don't have a couple minutes. So what I'm going to do is describe a situation where my guess is most of us have felt afraid in the last few weeks. And so what I'd like you to do, if you're able, is close your eyes. If you can, plant your feet flat on the floor. Sit up as straight as is comfortable. Don't arch your back. Don't slouch. Drop your shoulders. Feel the weight of your feet on the floor, the weight of your buttocks on the chair. Just breathe naturally. Breathe in and breathe out. I want you to think of a time when you had to go to the grocery store in the last 2 or 3 weeks. and you put on your gloves and you put on your mask and you waited in line. And when you were in line, and you were anxious going anyway, as who among us isn't anxious these days about going to the grocery store? And you were anxious going into it. And you get in line, and instead of people standing 6 feet apart, they're standing a foot apart, and they're crowding you from the back. And you start getting fearful. You think, what if I bring COVID home to my family? And you get in the grocery store, and they're not controlling anything, and there's people everywhere, and you go the aisle, you've got one thing that you absolutely have to have. And you check that aisle 3 times, and 3 times it's full of people, and there's just no way to get what you want. And you're afraid. You're afraid that you're going to be exposed. You're afraid that you're going to bring it home to your family. You're feeling all these different manifestations of fear. So what I want you to do right now is to say silently to yourself, I'm afraid. I'm afraid. I'm afraid. Try to fully experience what it's like to say and feel, I'm afraid. Feel it in your body. Is your heart pounding? Is your stomach kind of fluttery or in knots? Are your hands sweating? Whatever you're doing, wherever you're feeling it, feel the fear. Say, I'm afraid. Just accept, I'm afraid. Now, instead of saying, I'm afraid, take a breath and say silently to yourself, I feel fear. I feel fear. I feel fear. Notice the shift from I am afraid to I feel fear. Experience this shift in the new relationship that you have to fear. Now shift again by saying silently to yourself, I am aware of feeling fear. I am aware of feeling fear. Experience awareness of feeling fear fully. Recognize and allow the suffering from which it comes. Just notice the awareness of fear. Notice how your relationship to the fear softens as you let go of the self-judgments and the self-blame to recognize the pain from which the fear arises. When you acknowledge the pain, self-compassion simply follows almost naturally. Turn again to your body and breathe into the muscle tension and into your heart. Notice your breath as it deepens and slows. Observe what happens when you drop your shoulders. Open your fists and soften your face. Notice how your body relaxes, how the physical sensations of fear slip away. Now let your awareness shift again as you say, fear is welcome. Fear is welcome. Experience welcoming like a vast, deep ocean where your recognition and allowing welcome the waves of fear. And feel the awareness welcoming brings. Notice what you're feeling in your body at this very moment. Feel what you feel. Welcome the feelings in your body and notice the different emotional quality that comes from welcoming. Sense the support that welcoming brings. Now bring your attention back to the room. And what I typically do here is say, what did you notice? Did you notice self-judgments? Did you notice resistance? I don't want to do this. Why am I here? Did you notice that there were shifts in your emotions? That you got more distance between you and that fear? Anybody want to share? If you do, raise your hand. Nobody's going to share? Oh, come on. Casey, help me.
I will.
Okay.
Wait a
We
minute.
can't hear you.
Nope, you're muted somehow. You were unmuted.
There I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I noticed that at first, so I had to use, instead of the grocery store, just having a symptom, really, I noticed a shift and bringing the anxiety up. And as you started talking about changing, just the first time you changed the word from I am afraid to I feel fear, I noticed immediately this shift in getting some space from it. And then to go further into that space of noticing what it is, kind of, again, I felt like I was not physically floating above it, but cognitively just floating above it and being able to take a look at what were those thoughts that were getting me so fearful or just raising my anxiety a little bit. So yeah, that was pretty powerful, actually, just those little shifts. Thank you.
Yeah. And normally we would do this over, I would have longer pauses in between so that you could actually feel the fear, and you would come up with something that's your own fear instead of one I gave you. And I'd give you a couple minutes before we started the meditation to identify that fear, so you're not spending the whole meditation trying to figure out what am I afraid of. And we would talk about it probably 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, depending on how rich things are. And if you went into self-judgment as I'm doing it wrong, we would talk about, okay, meditation is, there's nothing wrong or right. The only thing wrong about meditation is if you don't do it. You know, seriously, there is, and think about this. It takes one of the things we're trying to do is change your habits of thinking and feeling and sensing and being. And so it takes, and then change the neural pathways that support those new habits. The research says it takes an average of 400 repetitions to start a new neural pathway. Now think about this. If one meditation was a repetition, it would take me forever, right? 400, that's over, if I meditate once a day, that's over a year. The reality is the number of repetitions is the number of times you bring your attention back to the moment. So if in a meditation, in say a 15-minute meditation, I have to bring my attention back, my mind wanders 20 times, and I bring it back 20 times, no matter how long my mind goes down the rabbit hole, bring it back 20 times, that's 20 repetitions. Well, now it doesn't take so long to get to 400 repetitions. And that's why meditation is so important, is because we're learning, we're just physically experiencing and physically learning. Now, I can have somebody talk at me about meditation for years, and I don't create a new neural pathway because I haven't done it. Neural pathways are only about experiencing. They're not about hearing and processing cognitively. They're about experiencing.
Thank you so much for leading us through that. We had a question here in the chat, wondering if there was a way to get a copy of this exercise. I want to let everyone know that this is being recorded. So one way that you can have a copy of this would be by checking in on Gateway Wellness Associates site to see the video after the fact. Sandra, is there another way that people can obtain a copy of a similar exercise?
Absolutely.
All right, awesome.
Casey can email it to you. I can send it to you.
I can attach it to
Beautiful.
the post of the video as well. I can link it.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Wonderful. And we also had a comment from Jessica. She said, you know, tightness in her chest when describing the grocery experience. So yeah, this was a very, very visceral experience for some, certainly.
We do, in the class, we do a fair amount of imaginal meditations, and where where you're working with your own material in the meditation and then again in the discussion. And depending on what kind of imaginal meditation it is, you know, and if you start self-judging yourself, I might stop you in mid-sentence and say, what are you doing? And we'll talk as a group about where that came from and what do you do when you catch yourself self-judging, because we all self-judge. I mean, it's human nature to self-judge. And then we also try to normalize self-judging because we are all human. And we try to really focus on our shared humanity and the fact that we are, you know, perfectionism makes us miserable. And most of us are raised to be perfectionists. So.
Absolutely. You know, we had another question in the chat box. I'm just going to go to a few of the questions from the audience here. Any specific forms of meditation or mindfulness that you would recommend during this time of social distancing and high anxiety?
You know, that's so individual. My preference with the insight meditation is, you know, a lot of times with my insight meditation, I'm just end up doing deep breathing and bringing my attention back, and deep breathing and bringing my attention back. There are a few guided meditations teachers that I particularly like. And when you know, like right now we're doing a series with Tara Brach, Joseph Goldstein, and Rick Hansen. And if you know any of those names, they're kind of well-known names, but they're all just, their meditations are beautiful and very imaginal, and they make you work at handling your emotions. So it really depends on what I need today and what is comfortable to me. And that's individual for each one of you. But that's one of the things we explore when we're going through the class, is figuring out what works for you, what, not just one kind, but different kinds of things that work for you.
Yeah, and we had some more great comments here in the chat box. One said, I love how that exercise was not trying to stop the fear from existing, but instead changing our relationship to the fear. And it also validates that we are all feeling fear, and that is okay.
Yep. And that's, you know, with emotions, we try very hard, and I'm not going to tell you I'm perfect, but we try very hard to always validate primary emotions. You know, one of the things we do is we differentiate between primary emotions and secondary emotions. And what you were feeling when your chest tightened up in there probably was the primary emotion. And primary emotions come and go. They're fleeting, and they come in waves up and down, and, you know, and crest and ebb and flow. But secondary emotions are, what do I do when I get back in the car with that emotion? So I get back in the car after going to the grocery store. In the grocery store, I've got those primary emotions are just kind of flooding me. Get back in the car, and if I start thinking about the emotion, which is the secondary emotion, I start thinking, oh my God, those people, they were awful people. Why didn't they do this? And why did they do that? And I could have been exposed, and it's their fault. And, you know, I'm blaming. Or why did I go to the grocery store? I shouldn't have gone to the grocery store. I should have gone at 5 o'clock or 2 o'clock instead of when I went. And so it's self-blame or blaming somebody else, or, you know, lots of different thoughts that you can have. Those secondary emotions we want to detach from. I don't want to attach to my stories. Those are all stories. I want to experience and feel the fear in my body, and I want to let go of the thoughts about those emotions, because that's what makes me miserable, is the thoughts.
You know, that leads right into another comment that we had in the group chat. I noticed you started the meditation with connecting to a negative emotion that differs from most meditations that seem to be used as a distraction from negative emotion. What are your thoughts on that comment?
Well, one of the things we do in MBCT is we try to help people understand that both thoughts and emotions are mental events. And as mental events, they're not good or bad. and let go of thinking of fear as bad, or anger as bad, or sadness as bad and happy is good. You know, there are people who have as much anxiety over happiness as there is about people who have anxiety over sadness. I mean, if I start thinking is when's the other shoe going to drop, I'm afraid to be happy because I'll be disappointed. I don't want to be happy in this relationship because they're going to leave me. They always do. I'm not experiencing happiness. I may have fleeting glimpses of it, but my thoughts are making me miserable, whatever the emotion. So we have the potential to accept them as mental events. It's part of being human, and just let them be what they are without attaching to them. And that's what this meditation does, is helps us see them as mental events as opposed to judging them as bad or good.
I love that. And we have a comment from Kara. She says, emotions are like the check engine light. They are a sign that something may need to be addressed and processed.
Yep. And that's an interesting point, because I want to check and process. I want to take the information from those primary emotions. What I want to do with the thoughts about the emotions is, in DBT, we call it check the facts. What's the evidence? And so when I notice that I'm doing the secondary emotions, I'm thinking about those primary emotions, I want to say, wow, do I really know that? Did those people really do that on purpose? Could I have known that I should have gone to the grocery store at a different time? And so you do different things with primary and secondary emotions.
Well, we are running close on time, and I just want to say thank you from all of us to you. This has been a really powerful session, and we really appreciate you for being here and sharing your wisdom and insight. And Sandra, you have, you're leading 2 mindfulness-based cognitive therapy groups coming up at St. Louis DBT this summer. Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. We're doing one that's for therapists only, and we have a wonderful discount coming if you register by June 1st. What is it, Casey? 33%
Yes.
off discount. And that starts Tuesday, June 23rd. We have another one for clients. And the one for clients is on Wednesday evenings, and it starts at Wednesday the 24th at 6:30 p.m. And everything's going to be online this summer because we don't feel comfortable with masks, and just all the social distancing really does not help group cohesion. There's 3 parts to it. There's 10 weekly classes. There are 2 individual consultations and a retreat. And how we do the retreat online is we do a Saturday, and you do 2 3-hour blocks. And it is not all meditation. People worry about that. We do part meditation, and we do part what we call pattern analysis, where you're looking at how your behaviors, your patterns that lead you into depression and out of depression. So how your behaviors connect to your thoughts, connect to your emotions, connect to your body sensations, and we map it all. And then we work on the same thing as what leads you out of depression, what leads you out of anxiety, so that in doing that, we can then develop an action plan, which is what our second consultation is about.
Well, I think that sounds like it's going to be a fantastic series, and we want to say thank you again. How can people reach out and connect with you?
My email is Sandra, Sandra, at stldbt.com for St. Louis DBT. And so you can email me at Sandra at St. Louis. I'm sorry. At stlDBT.com. And we have a website, and it's stlDBT.com. You go to groups, and there's one page for clients, and there's one page for professionals.
All
And I
right,
can
wonderful.
attest very quickly that people who have been through Sandra's MBCT class, either as therapists wanting to learn more about mindfulness and really practice it, because she's right, the only way to really truly be able to do this with our clients is to practice it ourselves. So many of us read about it, or we even get Headspace or the Calm app and do it a few times here and there. But Sandra's program and her class has literally, we've had so many people who have said it's transformed not only their lives, but their practice and the way that they interact with their clients and the way that they are able to get so much deeper into this mindfulness tool with their clients. So I can't recommend it highly enough. Sandra has been my wise mind for years. So part of me doesn't want to share her with the world, but most of me, 99% of me is like, yes, please, everybody have a little Sandra in your life.
Well, thank you, Casey. You've embarrassed me.
That was my goal. Sit with that. Tell me how it feels. And then
Okay.
just notice. Just notice it. Just notice.
I'll be happy to do that.
Notice the feeling. Yeah.
Love it. And we've got so many thank yous and so many wonderful thoughts and comments coming up in the group chat. So again, great to have you here today. Thank you so much, Sandra. And Casey, thank you for sharing her with us.
You're welcome.
Very, very generous, and we're very grateful for it. So I'd like to again thank our team behind the scenes, Casey, Kate, and Jessica. And thank you for joining us, all of you. So we will be back next week. It'll be our last one in this series, as far as I'm aware. I think it'll be our last one. So join us, and we'll have pharmacists Kelsey Schwander and Steve Zielinski. These two are doing things differently. They're forging their own paths in medical cannabis consulting and in integrative and functional medicine pharmacy practices. So it's going to be a very interesting conversation. We'd love you to bring all of your questions for them. They're wonderful guests, and we will see you next Friday at noon. Make it a great day.
Thank you all.
Bye, everyone.